Okay, today we are diving into something a little bit different. This is Deaf Crocodile's fairy tale DEFA box set, a collection of East German fairy tales that feel like they've all come from an entirely different world. These are not your polished Disney versions. They're stranger, they're a little bit rougher, they're sometimes very dark, and occasionally completely bizarre, but in the best way. So I'm going to go through each film in this set, have a quick chat about each of them, what stood out, what worked, what didn't, and then we'll take a little look at the extras. Let's start with 1961 Snow White. It feels the most traditional of the set, but even here you can feel something a little bit different. It's got that wild colour palette, and what really stands out here is the production value, the way that things are layered up, the costuming, the sets, the animal characters. There's something about these costumes that they use that gives it a kind of strange otherworldly charm. It's a bit hokey, but it works. It doesn't have that kind of polish that makes it perfect. It's rough around the edges. It has this wonderful, fun, kitsch way about it. It has this kind of appeal that feels handmade, almost theatrical about it, like you're watching something being performed on a stage. But there are these wonderful characters. There are these iterations of the story elements that were a little bit new for me, possibly striking back to the source material, but it was really interesting. And as the first film in the set, it was really vibrant, really out there, really wonderfully strange and different, yet somehow familiar, with a terrific colour palette. I found it charming more than anything. Little Red Riding Hood from 1962 is where this set starts to get a little bit different. There is a slightly darker edge to this, not outright horror, but it's definitely not playing things safe. But again, the costumes are doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. There are wonderful designs for the fox or wolf or bunny, where it's people in costume, but the costuming is a little bit twisted and off and not quite right, and it feels like it has this darker element to it. But then you'll jump to, say, grandmother, who has this little squirrel puppet that pops up every now and again, and it feels very childlike and it feels very kid TV. It's performative in that way where they don't look like real places. It looks like sets, and it's unsettling in a strange way. Compared to Snow White, this takes a turn and has a really strange tone. It leans more into tension rather than fantasy. There's all this interplay between fox and wolf where things feel rather dangerous with these characters. It had an underlying feeling to this film that made you feel that they weren't shy in moving away from making these kiddie films a little bit dark and a little bit unsettling, and I really liked that about this one. Next up is 1963's Mother Hulda, and it's probably the most overtly strange of the three. It leans heavily into fairy tale morality, good versus bad, reward versus punishment. Very much an East kind of German philosophy here. If you work hard, you will get rewarded for it. But it's almost dreamlike in its quality. Everything here feels extremely exaggerated, incredibly artificial. It's like you're watching a storybook come to life, but with an extreme edge to it. It has these two vying sisters, one who's very work heavy and one who's incredibly work shy. They travel to this other realm where Mother Hulda rewards them depending on their work ethic, and it has that kind of rinse and repeat nature that you get through fairy tales where people do the similar things but with different results. I think the style of this one worked incredibly well. I thought the story was incredibly fitting. I loved the idea and the nature of it. The inventiveness of the sets was terrific, and this was probably my favourite of all five of the films. Next, we're moving on to 1977's The Devil's Three Golden Hairs. And this is where it gets properly fun, moving away from the kind of aesthetic that it had in the previous three films. It's got a bit more energy, it's got a bit more chaos, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. There is a lot going on here. Comedy, fantasy, strange characters, a mix of real world and fantasy, hell world, and it just kind of throws everything at you as we follow a young upstart who tries his best to get on in the world and is tasked with going to hell and retrieving the three golden hairs from the devil's head. And when you get there, the devil's not a terrifying character. He is rather endearing. He's kind of bumbling, a little bit fun, a little bit silly, and it plays out very pantomimey, very different. I loved the part when we're down in hell with the devil because I just found it to be incredibly funny more than anything. And then we go back to reality. It feels like a big scope, but larger than the previous films. We've got a castle, we've got an attack at one point. There's lots going on here to make it really fun. And that tone, although it loses its kind of darker edge, it still has elements of fun, but a wee bit more realistic built into it. It's messy in the way that keeps entertaining the whole way through, and was a real joy. Then we're moving on to the last film in the set, Snow White, Rose Red from 1979, and this one might be the most memorable for me, but not in the reasons you'd expect. You've got two brothers in this one who are turned into a bear and a falcon. Falcon, fine, no issues. The bear is one of the worst costumes in all five of the films. Then you've got this evil dwarf who just keeps getting his beard stuck in various situations where two sisters, Snow White and Rose Red, have to free him. And every time they free him, they have to do a certain thing which kind of lessens his power. And every single time he is absolutely livid about this, cursing these girls, promising he'll get them back, and then instantly getting stuck again later on. It becomes a running gag that keeps escalating, but is actually kind of funny. The humour for me landed a lot here. The repetition didn't wear thin either, and I really enjoyed the elements of these characters, and it felt a little bit different. We had two characters stuck in animal form that needed help, and we had the two girls who were really good working together. So we didn't have a standout main character. We had a pairing, which I think really helped the film. It leads into this odd mix of sincerity and absurdism that runs all the way through it, but had me entertained the entire way. So looking at all five films on this set, they're not polished and they're not perfect, but they are consistently interesting. There is a certain level of creativity here that you don't see anymore. Practical effects, theatrical performances, wonderful sets, and a willingness to lean into the strange and obscure. And even if something doesn't quite land, there's always something memorable about it. Let's dive into the extras and see what there are. Here we are in disc 1. We have Snow White, which is a commentary track by Sam Deegan. Then we have a commentary track by Michael Brook for Mother Hulda. Within disc 2, there is one extra as a commentary track by Sheila Rowan Legg and Al Golden. There is no extras on disc 3. Disc 4's extras has a commentary track by Sam Deegan. Then we have Socialist Fantasies, The Brother Grimm and DEFA Studios, Fairy Tale Filmmaking in Eastcheer, Berlin, which runs for 18 minutes, 3 seconds. This is a new visual essay by Evan Chester. Then we have a fairy tale discussion with Stephen Bissett, Dennis Barkov and Steve Bissett talk DEFA and beyond. And this runs for 1 hour, 34 minutes, 50 seconds, and is one of those get lost in discussions that are typical for the Deaf Crocodile releases and always a standout. Also included in this set is a 78-page booklet, and where there are 4 essays on the various DEFA fairy tales, as well as an interview with Stephen Colditz, some on-set photography, and some of the original posters used as well. That's the extras for fairy tales. So there we have it. This is a completely unique set. It's not going to be for everyone. If you're expecting polished modern fairy tales, you're not going to get that. But if you're open to something a little bit different, a little bit weird, bit rough, and genuinely different, there's a lot to enjoy here. I definitely enjoyed my time throughout this set, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this one. Have you seen any of the films? Are you picking this set up? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, there is more content here if you want to see more of my stuff. In the description box are links to Patreon, membership program, manvfilm.com, always in which you can support me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.